We got Todd Sheets with us, my economic guru. Joining us now, Elaine Parker. Elaine is Vice President of Communications for the Job Creators Network and the President of the Job Creators Network Foundation. Elaine, before we get to Todd, I want you to outline for us what you think has to be done here with healthcare, which I'm all over because you can't just sweep this under the rug. Increases are coming in January. What, from your perspective, Elaine, is our solution?
Well, the first solution is that we need to let these Obamacare subsidies that were passed under the Biden administration during COVID, we need to let those expire. All those have done is cover up the failure of Obamacare. And the reality is the increases in Obamacare have continued to happen every single year. It's just they continue to be covered up with these subsidies. What we need to look at is what the House is going to vote on tomorrow. It's a bill called HR 6703, which is Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Americans Act. And what this bill does is it actually expands something called association healthcare plans. This is a game changer for our small businesses and their employees across America because it will allow small businesses to band together and have the same kind of bargaining power that Fortune 500 companies have, and get them out of the individual markets into the group markets and allow them to access lower cost healthcare and provide healthcare to their employees. Now, it's very important to make this distinction. This is not repeal and replace of Obamacare. If you like your Obamacare plan, you can keep your Obamacare plan. It simply provides another choice for small businesses to access potentially lower cost premiums for them and their employees.
What do you do for the family of four that's getting a subsidy, that's paying $400 a month? They get a bill in the mail January 10th, and it's $850. What do you tell them, Elaine?
Well, look, I think that maybe a good compromise for the Democrats and Republicans may be to extend these subsidies, but give the subsidies to the American people who need them to pay their premiums, and allow them to go out into the marketplace and use those healthcare dollars to buy the premiums and the plans that work for them. And what that will do, it'll force what we call free market forces to kick in. And these insurance companies will then have to actually compete for those dollars instead of just getting them, from a government spigot every single year.
So long-term makes sense, but it is December 16th. Premiums go up January 1st. So are you going to do you want the government figure out in the next 10 days, what amount of money check to send people to pay the difference? That's not tenable in 10 days.
So the bill that they're voting on tomorrow in the House actually provides the opportunity to create these tax-free plans that employers and even the government can fund with those subsidies to help pay those premiums. Again, there are compromises that can be had, but this bill, these association healthcare plans, are simply adding another choice. So whatever happens with the Obamacare subsidies, there is no reason why association healthcare plans cannot pass the House and go to the Senate and be signed into law by the president before December 31st, and opportunity for all Americans to have another choice. That's all this is another choice in the group markets. It's the same kind of buying and bargaining power that Fortune 500 companies have right now today that many of us cannot get access to because we don't have.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that if we extend the subsidy. You're giving me an ideological argument on December 16th. I mean, I just, for the life of me, you're getting a bill. You cannot pay the bill. And now you got to go find out. You passed a law, it got enacted, the Senate, the House. Now you got to go shop for another insurance company. How long will that take? Meantime, it's April. I have no insurance or I can't pay it. I mean, it's a great argument. I agree with you 100%. If this was April, I'm all in. September, I'm all in. It's December 16th. We don't have a plan. I mean, it's
look, like I said, there's compromises.
Debating an ideological argument about exchanges and competition with 14 days to these things going up and a shotgun to somebody's head.
It's not an ideological argument. It's an economic argument. And if we put the healthcare dollars in the hands of Americans, and they are the shoppers,
how do you do that?
They're
How do you do that? How do you do that
through
between
health
now?
savings accounts.
How do you do that between now and January 10th?
So, like I said, there's a compromise that can be had so that the Americans do not lose their health care and can afford to pay their bills through the extension of subsidies. There can be a compromise to be had, but ultimately that's just a Band-Aid, John. The long-term solution, and the only way Congress is going to move on this, is when they're under stress and duress with, looming deadlines out there. If this time passes and a 3-year extension is passed, guess what will happen next year? Nothing will happen again. No one will take it up. We'll have 3 years of sitting here, and 3 years from now in December, the three of us will be sitting on your show talking about this looming deadline and the expiration of them, and that nothing will have been done. Right now, if this bill passes, it's another choice for people. Go ahead and compromise on the subsidies and expand, but allow the American people to have a choice.
I'll agree with that. We got to a good where you got me to understand what you're saying. So you're in favor of a bridge until this is figured out, and your point is, which is very salient, that without a deadline they ain't going to do crap. So like they need to be faced with a hard deadline in order to get something done. But then, so we're agreeing on that, and then you also agree with me that there needs to be a glide path, and right now we don't have one. And I'm not for 3 years. That's what the Democrats are going to propose. I'm not for that. That's stupid. I'm for 1 year. I'm not for 3. But I see where you're going with this. So you and I have just reached a great compromise on the air. Good job. Let's get to Todd. Todd, Elaine and I reached a compromise after that somewhat spirited debate. What say you?
To me, I agree with what Elaine said. You have to have a deadline. That deadline could be now. It should not be 3 years. To me, it seems like a 12-month deadline is a reasonable compromise. And I think the key issue depends on whether you think that what is being proposed in this bill, which I have not studied, and healthcare is not an area of expertise of mine, but do we have a comprehensive enough solution within this bill to really carry us forward with something that starts to fix the healthcare problems that we have, which are enormous. Obamacare is a big problem, and there aren't going to be any easy, quick fixes to this. And I think what the Republicans owe the American people, and they owe themselves, is to come up with something comprehensive and to do something that really changes the dynamics in the system that are creating the problems, the expenditure problems, and all those kinds of things we're dealing with. And so I'd be a little bit concerned that this is maybe a step in the right direction, but it's not really what we need to get the system on the right path. And that we need a little bit more time, and that maybe 12 months is the way to go about that.
Well, listen, sounds like you guys got to stay for another segment so we can get Elaine's rebuttal in here to that, right? Because we still don't even know what the Republicans are proposing. I have no idea. Does anybody have any idea? No one has any idea. That's part of the problem. Great messaging, man. It's powerful stuff. But hey, all's going to be fine, Elaine, because the Silly Memes team is going to now go to the White House. All is going to be good. Once we get memes out there, we're all going to win. You can't make this stuff up. I'll be right back. Elaine, Todd, JD Hayworth, we're all going to be here. Stay with us.